Hey everybody, it's Trigger Bar Philosopher. Welcome back out to the channel. Today we got another great episode in our series on 380 ACP. We got quite a few videos stacking up now, but today we're going to be taking a look at the Grizzly 90 grain plus P. Should be a good time. Let's get to shooting. Okay, well, if you've been following the series, we are using the Bodyguard 2.0 as a platform to test a whole series of ammunition. Now, the Bodyguard 2.0 is a pretty cool handgun because it has really great ergonomics. You can get your hands pretty high up on this pistol. It's got a great undercut. You can ride the handgun very close to the slide, so it's got a very low bore axis. And for someone who has typical human-sized hands, not Sasquatch hands, you can get pretty much 3 fingers on this pistol. Now, of course, this one's done a little bit different. I do have it cut for an optic, so you can ignore that because I do have the carry comp version 2, which is not cut for an optic, and that's what I typically do carry with me, but then I use this other pistol for testing. Today, we're going to continue that testing, but we're going to be looking at ammunition from Grizzly. It's 90 grains, and it is plus P. Now, before everyone sounds off in the comments, and some of you are watching the series like, oh my gosh, here goes Trigger Bar yet again on the plus P thing, because every time I shoot plus P, I remind folks that in 380 ACP, number one, Smith Wesson in their manual says, do not shoot 380 ACP out of this handgun. The background for that is because there's no such thing as 380 ACP plus P. Wait a second, there's no such thing. What do you mean, Trigger Bar? Has it right here on the box. It says plus P. What I mean by that is that there is no standards specification by a standards body approved. This is what plus P means. It means blah, blah, blah. It means so much pressure out of your handgun. And they measure that pressure. And then gun manufacturers and ammunition manufacturers, when they put plus P on it, it cannot exceed that pressure from a handgun. And then when gun manufacturers make guns to that specification, they know that their gun is capable of withstanding those pressures. Since there's no standard, a company like Smith Wesson, who's probably been sued quite a few times, can't just say, sure, we'll shoot plus P. And then Bubba, who says, I got some pissin' hot loads that of course they're plus P. And in his mind, plus P is twice, 3 times, 4 times the pressure of what a regular gun can handle. And it blows it up. And then the companies, we all sue Smith Wesson because you said you could shoot plus P. You can't get away with it. So yes, I know this, but Grizzly is a well-known manufacturer, and in general speaking, when we shoot plus P, we know that it's not going to necessarily blow our gun up. It's really just going to wear out the components faster. It's one reason I bought the second one, is because I am testing a lot of different ammunition with this first version, and so then I carry this second version, and I don't shoot a lot of plus P through that second version because I want it to last and I want it to be reliable. Now, you're going to have to make the determination for yourself whether or not you want to shoot plus P out of your handgun. And take the risk of it not working. A lot of people in my comments with previous videos say, yeah, I don't mind doing that. Or, you know what? I'm just going to shoot a box, make sure it runs through my pistol, then I'll carry it. Then I'll just practice with other ammunition. That way I don't put the wear and tear on my handgun like I might by shooting a lot of plus P loads. And even ammunition manufacturers say, you know, just don't put a high diet of these rounds through it, like Buffalo Bore. I've heard him say that on his YouTube channel, and it should be fine. So, with all that said, if this really bothers you, just leave. Just leave now and don't watch this because it's going to be painful for you to watch. Okay, for the rest of us, why don't we keep on going? And this is what we're doing today. We are shooting this Grizzly 90 grain plus P ammunition. Now, let me step closer to the camera. And the 2 rounds of ammunition that I have here. So this is what we're talking about today. This is the Grizzly ammunition 90 grain. This is an XTP bullet from Underwood. And you notice I thought maybe that the Grizzly was using a XTP projectile, but it's not. It's the same grain weight and they're close, but I just don't think, I think the cone is a little sharper on the Grizzly ammunition than it is on the Underwood. If you know what round they're shooting, let me know in the comments below, but I just think that this cone comes in a little more sharper than it does with this Underwood bullet, which is a Hornady XTP bullet. So I don't know. Long story short, I do not know what this is. It is a traditional lead type projectile. So yep, that's what we're going to test today. Of course, we have our traditional test setup. If you haven't been watching the channel, what it is something that looks very similar to, if you know Gun Sam. He does ballistic testing, great channel, check him out, but a very similar setup to him. We have 2 layers of denim followed by 2 layers of t-shirt followed by 2 inches of clear ballistic gel. Then we have 1/4 inch of medium density fiberboard, and then we have more ballistic gel followed that. That medium density fiberboard acts like a little bit of a barrier like you might have in your human body where their bone is. And so it provides us a look at when these projectiles hit something hard, what happens to the bullet, what happens to the round. Does it start to tumble? Does it continue on its path? Does it lose all of its momentum? Again, this isn't a great comparison to bone, although it does have a very similar water density to bone and a very similar hardness to bone. So, but beyond that, it may not be all that similar, but it at least provides some type of barrier inside of quote-unquote tissue that we might experiment with. Now, I have a whole series of videos comparing clear ballistic gelatin and organic gelatin. You can go and check that out. In general, clear ballistic gelatin, you don't see as much expansion of the bullet, and the bullet travels just a little bit further in the clear ballistic gel. It's not enough of a difference to make a difference, in my opinion, and if the round is not going to expand in clear ballistic gel, I'm not so sure I really trust it to expand in humans because all humans are different. Organic gelatin is a simulation of pig, which is a simulation of humans, and all humans are different, and all materials within your body is different. So yada, yada, yada. This is close enough, and again, I have 30 videos that we're using to compare against this result. We're getting close to 35 videos now that we're going to compare to this result. So really take it as more of a comparison from one round to the next when we take a look at all of those videos. Okay, well, enough yapping. Let's get shooting. Okay, well, we have our target downrange. We've got our chronograph set up right before impact on the target. We're at about 5 yards here from the target. Turn on our slow motion camera, and we're going to shoot this 90 grain plus P Grizzly ammunition into our gel setup. Here we go. All right, 1022, not quite the 1200 feet per second that they were claiming on the box, but that's not bad for 90 grain. That's a little hot, but for comparison, our Underwood standard pressure I have seen at 1,000, so that's not bad. Let's go down, see what it did. Okay, well, let's take a look at this. Came in through our denim t-shirt, 2 inches of clear ballistic gel, in through our medium density fiberboard, and we see it's a 0.355 hole in that. So we didn't get any expansion in the first little bit. Don't know if it got clogged up with t-shirt or whatnot, but let's take this off and take a look at it, and we see that that bullet didn't expand at all. You can see it and say, oh, look, that did a lot of damage. That's great, trigger bar. Well, that's not really, that's just tumbling of the bullet. And so why don't I just give you a look. Well, before I do that, I will give us a little bit of a measurement. We go 2¼ inches because we got a 1/4 inch of medium density fiberboard and 2 inch of clear ballistic gel before that. And we see that the bullet got out to at about 17 inches. Yeah, it had enough velocity. The bullet itself didn't expand. I really wish that Grizzly would use that XTP. I'm not sure what they are using in it. Let me give you just another view of that so that you can see this perhaps just a little bit better. You can see on its side here, that's where we are at. You can see the bullet did not expand at all. But again, I've said this in the past with 380 ACP. I'm actually pretty impressed with the damage that a jacketed hollow point does when it doesn't expand. And I want you to notice a couple of things. People say, oh, you can't use a jacketed hollow point that doesn't expand. Sorry, I forgot my good knife today. And that's our bullet right there. Yep, just didn't expand. There's no clothing inside of it, but I do notice there's some t-shirt, there's some blue jean material right at about that mark there. But they say, oh, it doesn't expand, so you gotta, you can't use jacketed hollow point that doesn't expand. And what people forget about is that in 380 ACP, a non-expanding jacketed hollow point is fine because it just gets 16 inches of penetration, which is kind of what you wanted to begin with, right? And then they're like, oh, well, that's why I use the Underwood Extreme Defender from Lehigh Defense, because it's barrier blind. It doesn't care. Well, if you go and look at my test, this did the exact same thing as what those Underwood bullets do. So it's, and in fact, what they do in 380 ACP is they tumble, because they're not going fast enough. Those bullets need to be going 1,500, 1,700 feet per second in order to get the intended effect that you want on your target. They just don't get that out of 380 ACP. Now here we have a good example of a bullet that's going fast enough by Grizzly, but it just doesn't expand. Now, you could say in organic gelatin, this would expand. Could very well do that. In organic gelatin, it may expand, but I'll go back to my point at the beginning. I want a bullet that expands reliably in a bunch of different scenarios. And if it's that close to not expanding, which is what it would be, because organic gelatin and cleared gelatin are pretty similar. If it's that close to not expanding, then yeah, I think it's probably not going to expand in humans too. So at any rate, why don't we I like to do one more test. We just shoot one just in the clear ballistic gel, just in case that t-shirt was really the cause of all of our problems. So we want to shoot one more into here. We'll flip this around, and we'll just shoot one more without any of the layers of clothing and such. Okay, we have this 90 grain projectile, and we're shooting into our gel that has no clothing or medium density fiberboard, just plain clear ballistic gel. So we'll see how the bullet performs when we don't have any clothing, or hey, what if you face a naked attacker, as I like to sometimes say. Here we go. Well, that felt a little bit more oomph to me. But it didn't, it registered just 20 feet per second more. So we got 1047 on there. Not bad, but let's go see what the impact on the gel was, if that made a difference or not. Let me holster my gun and my cup holder, and we'll go down and check it out. Okay, well, when we take a look at this round, we see that, yep, sure enough, it expanded. So when it is not hitting the clothing, because we saw that in the first 2 inches in the other one, after it went through the clothing, we didn't get any expansion before it went through the medium density fiberboard. So really, and you look over here, it's starting to expand in the 1 or 2 inch mark. So really that previous round got caught up in clothing, which is why it didn't expand. Really had probably nothing to do with, and before I start touching stuff, let's just get our measurement. Some of y'all like to see that. So yeah, we got a little over, it got out to 12.5 inches and then bounced back to about 11.5 inches. And let's try and pull this sucker out. All right, so again, I'll go back to my naysayers. You say, oh, if you don't have clear ballistic or organic gelatin, it would have expanded. Expanded just fine in the clear ballistic gelatin. It's when it hit t-shirt that it didn't expand. And look, we got a pretty nice expanded bullet, about 0.539. That's a good amount of expansion for 380 ACP, because if you get too much expansion, you don't get enough penetration. This gets around that foot mark of penetration, so that's just fine. And, that would be a great expanding projectile if it did, but it looks like we just didn't get it with the t-shirt. My guess, my prediction is if I shot 5 or 6 more of these rounds, did a more high volume, which I'm not going to do. You're going to have to go to other people who are testing this to see. But my guess is probably some fraction of it, like 80% of the time when it goes through clothing, it'll expand, or 50% of the time it'll expand. So not a bad round overall, I would say. And recently I did a top 5 test, and some of the federal rounds didn't expand when they went through the t-shirt either. So And I know that the Hornady one doesn't do a great job of that, although people argue with me that, oh, the flex bit presents that, but I don't always see that in my testing, especially in 380 ACP. So yeah, I think that's an interesting result here. Okay, up next, what we do is we have our Garmin Xero C1, and we get some velocity tests on a little bit bigger sample size. So we shoot 5 shots, and we will see how this ammunition is doing with the Garmin Xero C1. Here we go. Okay, for those 5 shots, we got a min of 1059, an average of 1075. That's a bit higher than we're seeing on that chronograph. That's interesting. And a max of 1085, extreme spread of 25, standard deviation of 9, which is pretty low. That's really interesting. Don't know. Getting significantly higher velocities with those 5 shots than we did with our first 2 shots. Maybe the first one I shot in, it's the lowest I had was 1025. Maybe with these higher velocities, we would have gotten more expansion. We certainly did on our second shot. We got 20 feet per second more, and it got more expansion. That could be the reason why the first one didn't expand. But yeah, I don't know. Average kinetic energy was 231, which is pretty good. That's in the plus P range for 380 ACP. Again, you may say, oh, that's paltry, but if we're talking about 380 ACP, guys, like this is what you're going to get. All right, so next thing I like to test is how accurately can we shoot it out of this gun. And when I talk about accuracy, what I'm really talking about is how does this ammunition print on the paper relative to the other rounds of ammunition where I have sighted my dot for? Is it shooting high into the left, low into the right, so on and so forth? Also, are there weird flyers, or are we getting keyholing with this ammunition? That's why I like to shoot it and put it into paper. We're at 5 yards, which I think is a great distance for 380 ACP. Ooh, we have a dead trigger on this one. I don't know if I didn't reset the trigger or not. Sometimes we know when we have a jam. It looked like everything went well. I don't know. It's possible I didn't reset the trigger fully before pulling it in. So we're going to give that a pass on that. I did okay, except I got worried about that thing, and I pulled the last round. Let's go down and just check it out. So again, we look at these shots, 1, 2, 3, 4, right in there, perfectly zeroed. And then I pulled this. I started being worried about, oh, is that a jam? Is this the ammo? Blah, blah, blah. And then boom, that happens. The ammo is fine. It's running fine through the gun. I'm going to shoot the rest that I have on the box just to see if we have any other malfunctions. Okay, I think we have 8 more rounds. We've got some steel down range. See how we do. Yeah, we did get a malfunction. And, you know, sometimes this Bodyguard has had its, sorry, I'm stepped out of the camera. Sometimes this Bodyguard does have its issues with its feed ramp, and it's often bullet shape. And as I said, this round is shaped just a little bit different than the XTP, which we found to be extremely reliable in our pistols. Now, because today I have with me my new carry comp model, new, I've got it in the summer. We'll shoot the rest of these out of the carry comp. I said I got it so I wouldn't have to shoot plus P out of it. Now I'm going to shoot plus P, but we'll see if, oh, look, even going into battery, it didn't like going into battery. And someone's going to say I didn't slingshot it enough. Those are my favorite comments. I love it. I just love it when people say that. I think they do it because they know I hate it. But, well, I wonder if it could be. Nope. All right, let's try that one more time. Again, with the carry comp version, which I've had less problems with. In general, I've had less problems with this carry comp version. Okay, for you, here we go. How's that for a slingshot? How's that for a slingshot? There you go. Some ammunition, some bullet shapes are not super compatible with it, and it's just getting stuck going into the feed ramp. We're gonna get rid of that round. Could be that round. Here we go. Here we go. Watch this slingshot. Oh, that was a massive slingshot, and it did so well. Did so well. It's amazing. All right, well, so it could have been just that round that was out of spec. Now, because that was the one I kept having problems with, and I just kept loading it back in the top. Let's keep going. Yeah, could have been that round, just that round. Not feeding well into the Bodyguard. So, yeah, interesting little conundrum there. Let's just do one little test too that I like to do that I've done in past videos and some viewers have showed me, is that we do a little plunk test with it. See if it fits in. Yeah, it fits in fine. This is not the problem that we're having with some other rounds where it didn't fit into the barrel very well. It fits in, it's just getting caught up on the feed ramps and not going in very well. Again, just having it right next to each other, this shape is just a little more narrow at the top than the XTP bullet, and I think that's causing the jamming issues. That's a Bodyguard 2.0 issue. That probably means that, well, some LCPs have issues, some don't. The LCP's probably fine, your Beretta's probably fine, your Ruger's probably fine, Security 380, so on and so forth. That's a Bodyguard issue. Bodyguards are great guns, I love them, but they are very ammo sensitive. You have to find the right ammunition that works with them. Okay, well, let's wrap things up. To say that I'm disappointed would be a little bit of an understatement. Coming into this, I would have said, oh yeah, this Grizzly's gonna be a top performer. Because in 10 millimeter, this is my favorite round. It just, I think the bullet that they chose for 380 just doesn't work. It probably, you know, it's just not, probably needs even more velocity. Probably needs 9 millimeter plus P velocities in order to expand. Sure, without any barriers in there, it expands. You know, it does, you know, in the plain gel, you get expansion, but that's not how a lot of us are dressed. And so once you put a little bit of clothing in front of it, it didn't work. And then furthermore, we saw it just really doesn't work in the Bodyguard 2.0. Probably works just fine. A lot of other 380 guns. The Bodyguard is just very selective for whatever poor reason of manufacturing from Smith Wesson, is just more selective in the ammunition, that it shoots well and cycles reliably. Which is why I always tell people, even no matter what, even if it's the round I like, the Underwood XTP, even if you go get that, buy 2 boxes, buy 3 boxes, run 2 boxes through your gun, make sure it works through your gun, because I think every one of these is slightly different tolerances from the manufacturer. Make sure it runs through your gun, and then keep one of those boxes for your self-defense rounds. I think with the Bodyguard, I still think there's advantages of having it just melts away in your pocket. It's super light, it's high capacity, it's easy to shoot, it's fun to shoot, but you got to find the right ammunition for it. All right, let me know what you guys think about the Grizzly ammunition in 380 ACP, the Plus P version. Hope everyone has a great week, and let's get to shooting. From pistols to rifles, or even manufacture, and even guns will break it all down. The Second Amendment protects from the crown. Living for freedom.